and welcome to another episode of Marcel Mindset TV. Remember, guys, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit that like button below, and most importantly, share this content, all right? The way the algorithm works is if you share the content, more people get access to the channel, to the page, and it allows them to level up themselves and level up their life, okay? So today it's a special episode. This is my first time doing this. First off, I just want to thank this guest for reaching out to me and asking to interview me. So I'm the person today that's going to be not the interviewer, but the interviewee. All right. So, today is a very special episode to me. You're going to get to know a little bit about me every time I bring a guest on the show. You always get to know about them. A lot of people don't know much about me. So I just first off want to thank Sharmi for reaching out to me. And, I really respect that. I honor that. And you know what? I'm following your content and I got to get you on my show to interview you one day because like the value that you're providing, it's actually inspiring me and helping me.
That means so much. That means so much.
Yes, thank you. Because I've been doing this content game for over a year. I'm on a year and a half now. And there's times where I want to, put it down, give up. You see one person like your video and you put so much effort into it. And like I read some of your posts, I see some of your content, and that inspires me to continue to go. So with no further ado, I'd like to introduce you to the show so you can take it over from here.
Wow, thank you so much. You know what? I completely resonate with what you're saying. Your content inspires me too. So I feel like we're just bouncing the ball back and forth here.
Yeah.
That's how it's got to be when, when you're in this industry of content creation. And I hate calling it an industry, but it really is.
It is.
Pursuit is an industry.
Exactly.
But yeah, I always see you interviewing people. You do solo shorts of yourself where you send really good messages out.
Yep.
But as far as your long form content, it's always you interviewing people and you valuing what they say. And I'm like, you know what? I've known you for about 3 to 4 years now. I met Marcel at LA Fitness. And when you just meet somebody and you're like, you're good vibes. You have good energy. I wanna keep this connection alive. Yeah, it was just like that. And back then you were in real estate. So are you still in real estate now?
That's a great question, Sharmi. And at the current moment, no. I left real estate. I had a family member that was doing it, my dad. So first off, I got to plug my dad, Maurice Hyde Real Estate Team, the best realtor in the GTA. If you're looking for any type of real estate services, make sure you reach out to Maurice Hyde, all right? And his Instagram is Maurice Hyde. So obviously you got to give out the shout out to my family. And you know what? I realized, Sharmi, you really got to have a love and a passion for whatever you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was doing real estate, I had my dad there who was super passionate about real estate, loved the game, has been doing it for over 34 years. And I got to my second year and I was like, this is not the thing for me. This is not my calling. This is not what I was destined to do. Wow. So yeah, I really had that feeling that I was doing the wrong thing. And I didn't have that like true love and that passion that I have for content and helping people. So one day, my dad came to me and said, you know what? Do you love this? Do you want to continue with it? You got to make a decision. Because like, if you're not willing to give everything, because that's full-time entrepreneurship. If you're not willing to give 1,000% to this, you will not see the results. And I knew myself, I wasn't going to, so I'd only be so successful. So, I ended up leaving, I believe it was last year, and I have no regrets, and I feel a lot better. Yeah, so that's where I'm at.
Then. Okay, so last year, and until then, so those 2 years that you were in it, did you feel within yourself, you know what, I can't do this? Like, did you have moments of that, or did you really like put your full effort in it?
I felt like I was just going through the motions. I felt like, I didn't love it. And I was more or less being like, okay, I got a family member in this, my dad's doing it. So I'm just going to do it. But I didn't feel like I was really in it. Like I was in it, but not really in it. It wasn't something that I loved. So I was definitely not giving my full effort, because if I was giving my full effort, you would probably would have seen me, creating posts, in houses, more active, just doing everything I can to like sell homes or just help people. So, if I'm being honest with myself, which I think the most important thing is to always be honest with yourself, I was not passionate about it. I didn't have a love for it, so I didn't continue on that journey.
Well, I mean, and you do now with like self-improvement content. Like, I mean, you do those posts now. So you're right. I never thought about it like that. Like it's true. I haven't really seen you actively promote yourself when you were in real estate. That is true. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No, with the content, I do it because I genuinely love it. Like I said, like I could be making $0 and I'll still do it. I could not be making a penny, I still do it because I have actually a true love for like just improving. I'm obsessed with getting better. I just
Yeah.
feel better when I'm improving. I feel like I can help the world better if I improve. So I'm always just trying to get better day in and day out, however I can, reading books, podcasts, following content creators like yourself. I'm always trying to get better, and I just became obsessed with it that it just came out on my posts, and now I'm just doing it. So I just love improving myself, and I think everybody should fall in love with that because it's such a great thing. You become so much better, you feel better, and it's a never ending thing. It never stops. Every day you can always get better.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I don't think there's ever like a goal post like that's permanent. I think it just keeps moving.
Yeah. It's true.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a big shift though, huh?
Huge shift, huge shift, huge shift, huge shift just to kind of just move from real estate to self-improvement. But I was always in the self-improvement, the helping thing. I came from the background where, I was working in shelters. I was working with youth. I was a youth and family counselor. So I was already doing that stuff. I work with people who are in addictions or who are addicts, mental health. So I've been doing that for 8 years already. So it's just like it only made sense that I create content where I'm helping people in self-improvement because I'm already in that industry. Real estate was actually completely different from something that I've ever done because I've never been the person that's like, oh, let me Google, real estate prices, or let me Google how much a home costs, or let me Google what a flip is. Like my mind wasn't thinking like that. My mind was always like improvement and personal development. Like I always was passionate about that, like Jim Rohn, Les Brown, Tony Robbins, Zig Ziglar. Like I was always listening to these people, and that's just been, what I've been attracted to and what I love to do.
So I had it all wrong. It's not self-improvement that was the big shift. It was real estate that was
Yeah.
realistically the big shift.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, wow.
And I do want to say it's okay, to go into something and leave it. It's okay to try something, to do something and realize, you know what, this is not for me.
Hmm.
Because you sometimes you don't know if something's for you unless you actually go into it. If I didn't go into it, I never would have known. Right. Because I was curious. There was some curiosity because I remember I did go to my father and was like, why haven't you showed me real estate? Because I'm like, I see all these posts come up. Person sells this home, sells that home. I'm like, oh, money. So I'm like,
Yeah.
why? Right. That's the first thing that comes to your mind. But it's actually deeper than money because, like, what happens when, it's a dry season and, money's not coming in? Right. You got to still love the game. So it's just like I knew I didn't love it. So what's going to sustain me? So yeah, that's kind of where the
Wow.
journey is with the real estate game. Yeah.
So talk to me some more about what you just mentioned about you working with mental health and you said addiction even like people. So talk to me more
Yeah.
about your experience in that.
Okay. So yeah. So I've been doing that for about 8 years. It started out in Calgary for me. I had a friend living out there. You know, I was kind of lost in my journey. Like I didn't know, where I was going, where I was headed. I was confused. And I
Oh,
think
what are you doing then?
I think I was like 22 or 23 or maybe even 24, the oldest age. I can't remember exactly,
Sounds
but
really at
yeah.
that. Yeah, go on.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was around that age and like I was just confused. I didn't know, I was just frustrated. I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I ended up just, leaving Toronto. And I had a friend out west. Shout out to Dean. His name is Dean Hadar. He runs a basketball organization. I had the true honor of actually interviewing him on one of my shows as well, too. So if you're ever in the Calgary area and you're looking for a basketball coach, Dean Hadar out in Calgary, you can check him out. But yeah, so I ended up going out there and I was just confused. I was applying to every job. The economy out there in Calgary at the time was really good. If you went out there, you're probably guaranteed to make 70, 80K in like construction, right?
Wow.
Construction. Yeah. 70, 80K in construction. And my friend was making around that type of money at the time. And he's like, just come out here, figure yourself out. And I always knew, like, I don't like construction, like, my hands are dirty, your back
Yes,
starts hurting. It's not
yeah.
for everyone, right? It wasn't for everyone. So I'm like, no, this is not it. And I believe in God. So I'm like, God, what is it? So I kept digging and searching and looking, and finally I found something, and I came across youth and family counselor. I applied, and within a week I got the job. And I
Isn't
was
that
like, yeah,
wow?
that was what I was supposed to do, but I didn't know that's where I was going to end up. I just took the chance. I took the leap of faith, and then I applied for the jobs. I put my name out there, put myself out there, and then that's what came to me.
Wow.
Right. And then I started doing that role in that position for a year, and I did relatively well. I was improving, I was earning money. I was paying off my credit card debts and my school debt. And then I just realized, like, I'm not happy with something. And it was the distance from my family, because Calgary obviously is out west. So I ended up coming back to Toronto. And when I came back to Toronto, a new journey started, because the same credentials that I had out west, it's almost like they didn't recognize it when I got back to Toronto. It's way more competitive in the city of Toronto.
Mhm.
Calgary's a lot less competitive. So, I started applying for jobs, couldn't get anything. So what was I doing? I got a job at Old Navy, folding clothes in the back. So I was like, all right, you know what? I got to find something else. So eventually I got back into the field that I had been doing out in Calgary, started working in shelters. And then I got into like one-on-one counseling, mentorship. And that takes me to now where, I'm still working with mental health clients. I'm working with client athletes one-on-one as well too, in my own little coaching program that I got going on. So yeah, I'm fully immersed in it. I'm doing my content stuff. Yeah, so that's what I'm doing right now, and I'm loving every minute of it.
Yeah, I mean, you seem to be. Yeah, as you just walked me through the process, and I saw it before my eyes, kind of like the journey of you getting here. So I'm curious about one thing. What was going on in your mind when you found yourself in a place where I have to fold clothes at Old Navy now? Like, how did you see yourself? Like, where you were going, or just, yeah, like, what was that for you?
Well, at that point, it's just like, you kind of have to like lower your ego and your pride and be like, this
Hmm.
is not a forever thing. Because I think sometimes people are in like situations or circumstances where they're like, my life's over, but it's not over. It's just like that's the situation you're in that given moment. And if you can, like, have the faith, if you can, while you're not at Old Navy, be searching and digging and betting yourself, then the next opportunity is going to come. And like I had that mindset. And
Hmm.
that's why when I was looking for a name for my channel, for my content, I was like Marcel Mindset, because I always had the mindset, no matter what situation I'm in, if it's not a desirable situation, if it's not something that, I love to be in, or I know that I'm supposed to be in, eventually I'm going to get to that next level. I could hate the situation I'm in and be like, what lessons am I learning from here? You know, and it could have been something small as like resilience, learning how to be resilient, or learning how to do something that you hate, and still showing up, with a positive attitude. So you could take something from that situation.
So what would you say to people? What's like, because like you said, there's a lot of people who are in situations where they don't feel aligned with. They know that it's not what they're supposed to be doing, but also they're in a situation where I don't really know what I can do about my circumstances right now. What's something that you would say to them that maybe you wish you had said to yourself, or that you
Right.
were saying to yourself? Yeah.
Okay, that's honestly a great question, and I just want to stop and say you're doing a phenomenal job right now.
My first interview, I'm
I
thinking.
know. And you know what? Maybe I'd like to say maybe this is a sign that this is something you also need to start doing for your channel as well too, because like you just said, this is your first one, but don't let this be the last. You're good at this.
Thank you. I actually I was feeling it while I was talking to you. I'm like, yeah, this flows. Yes.
Yeah, it's flowing. You got me. And I'm so interested, and I'm excited to answer all your questions. So think
Great.
about that. But yeah, just someone in the situation, I would definitely say, you know, don't. First of all, it's just like you're in a situation. Maybe you hate it. Maybe you don't like it. But what are you doing? Let's Because there's a lot of people who have 9 to 5s and they're like, I hate my job, right? And you hear that all the time. I hate my job. Okay, look at it from a different perspective. That job right now is giving you money so you can eat, so you can maybe travel, so you can pay your rent. So you got to change your perspective on the way you look at things, right? Change the way you look at things, and the way you look at things change. That's the first thing I like to say. The second thing I want to say is, while you're at your 9 to 5, do it at the fullest capacity, because so much people are like, oh, I want to be an entrepreneur. And it's just like, if you can't even do your 9 to 5, there's no way you're going to be an entrepreneur. There's no way you're going to have your own business, because, if you can't do 8 hours of the day, how the heck are you going to do 12, 14, 16-hour days? You're not. So do your job at the fullest level. The third thing I would say is, while you're at that job, develop yourself, personal development, work on yourself, because in your mind, right, you may think you're ready, but if you're in that situation, clearly there's something you don't know. Maybe there's a book you haven't read, a podcast you haven't listened to. Maybe you're just not that person yet. So that all that means is you have to improve. And what happens is, people are like, I hate my job. You know what they do after their 9 to 5? They run home and they sit on the couch and they watch Netflix and they watch mindless entertainment that actually doesn't help them get out of the situation that they hate. So whenever I'm in a situation, I'm like, you know what? I don't like my situation, or I'm working at this job and, I absolutely hate it. What am I doing when I'm not at that job? I'm researching, I'm studying on my breaks. I'm picking up books, I'm listening to podcasts, I'm networking. So what are you doing if you hate your situation to get yourself out of the situation? And also, when you're in that situation, always find the positive in it, whatever that positive may be. And it could be something simple as, I have a job in an economy where it's very difficult to get a job, or I have a job where, allows me to travel. I have a job that allows me to eat and I'm not homeless. So finding the positive in that situation.
Gratitude.
Gratitude's everything.
Always something to be grateful for. And
Yes.
I really like what you mentioned about, well, what are you doing about it? I think
Exactly.
that way of thinking, it really builds discipline. Yeah, like you're in a bad situation, but you're doing something about it, even when you're tired. That's
Yep.
discipline.
Exactly. Discipline. And you need discipline for any type of success that you're looking for, whether you're trying to be an athlete, a content creator, whatever it is you're trying to do, you need the discipline, right? You need to stay disciplined, and discipline means like making sacrifices too, right? Like staying disciplined and being like it's just like, if you want to lose weight, and you're not disciplined in your diet, then you're not going to see your body change, And I recently went through like a body transformation, because I was like, I felt myself like I wasn't my normal weight, and I was like, okay, I want to lose 20 pounds, right? So I'm like, of any type of extra fat I may have had, and I was like, the only way to do this, because I already go to the gym every day consistently, is change my diet. So I had to be disciplined. I had to put away the late night snacking, the cheesecakes. I love cheesecakes, right? The chips and all that stuff. So I had to be disciplined with my diet. I had to eat whatever for my body type, less carbohydrates, right? So discipline is everything in anything you're doing.
Yeah, it's tough, right? Because it's you against you at that point, right?
Yes. Yep. And that's
Yeah.
it. I love that point. It's me against me. I'm not competing with anybody else. The person I'm competing with is the person in the mirror. I'm trying to become a better version of that person I look to in the mirror every single day. They say, what do they say? Comparison is the thief of joy. I don't have to worry about that, because I'm not comparing myself to anyone. I'm looking at them in the mirror. I'm like, okay, I'm at this level. I want to get to this level, but I know it takes time to get to this level. So every day I'm just going to try to improve a little bit.
Yeah, just chip away, right?
Chip away at it. You'll eventually get there. I might not be there tomorrow, but hey, if I keep posting content for the next year, 2 years, maybe I could be viral. Maybe I could be someone that's on Oprah, or maybe I could be someone that's on CP24, right? I know at some point I'm going to get there, and that's vision and imagination.
That's it. That's vision. It's really funny, or just, I feel like it was a sign that you said that, because I was just this morning thinking about everybody who does something big that we see on TV or go viral. They're just people like you and me.
That's it.
Like I was raised with, I'm not better than anybody,
Nope.
but nobody is also better than me.
Exactly. Exactly.
So if they're on this screen that I have made to seem so magical, they were regular people too. They were born regular people. Like, why do I think, like, for what limiting beliefs do I think I can't be somebody who's also on that magical screen?
Exactly. And that's why you're going to be there right one day, because you got that mindset, right? You have that mentality that what makes me different than that person on TV, on that screen, the number one YouTuber, the number one podcaster, the number one radio host. Like, what makes you different? Nothing. Like, maybe hard work, maybe their resilience, their belief in themselves, that limiting belief. And that's everything. Like you got to check in with your belief system. If you have limiting beliefs, and I believe the power of the words, if you say you can't do something, you're not going to be able to do it. If you say you can do something, then all the possibilities, and you give yourself all the possibilities to actually achieve something. But the minute you say you can't do something, you close off everything. So
Oh, I just cringed a little. I can't do this. You have no idea how often I hear that. Just simple things, not even anything spectacular. Oh, can you peel that carrot? Oh no, I can't. I'm not good at that. I'll cut it. And I'm like, that was an obscure example, but just off the top of my head, but
I
still, it's
get
like,
it.
what do you mean you can't?
Exactly.
How about I'll try,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know? So this
Exactly.
belief system that you're talking about, this Marcel mindset.
Marcel Mindset.
Marcel mindset. So is this from when you were young, you always had this, or what? How did it develop?
Well, first off, I gotta say, I give credit to my family. I give credit to my family, the way they raised me, my mom and my dad. They're always like, get back up. I failed, get back up. My dad's been an entrepreneur for 34, 35 years. So, I grew up around that mentality. It's just like if you get knocked down, you get back up. My mom was the same way. You never give up on yourself. And that's the way I was raised, right? And if somebody wasn't raised in that way, you can still become like that. I want to say that because some people, maybe their parents were negative or they didn't have that support system, or if they got back up, their parents were like, oh, whatever, just that's the
Yeah.
way it is. If you had that, you could break out of that. Sometimes you just gotta, unlearn and then relearn or reprogram yourself. You can reprogram yourself by listening to content from Vibe with Sharmi or content by me or like other, content creators out there that are, talking about these things, like you can accomplish these things, right? You just got to reprogram yourself. But, I had that mentality from a young age of like, always like, if you get knocked down, get back up. If you fail, find a way to succeed, right? If you fail your test, what could you do to now the next test that you take, get an A? Okay, you can go to tutoring. You can, talk to the teacher. You can do extra work. So there's always a way. And I always knew that there's always a way. There is always a way. So I always had that mentality. And I also, growing up, not to get, religious or anything like that, but I also had God in my life as well too. So I was following God, listening to God. And that's another journey in itself. But yeah, just having God there, my family,
Yeah.
and that really helped me. Yeah, with this type of mentality.
Wow. Yeah. It seems like you had a really strong foundation to work with and you just kept building on it. Because,
Yeah,
there are also people out there, I can conversely argue your point of there's a lot of people who haven't had that upbringing. There are also a lot of people who have had your upbringing, but they
yeah,
don't do anything with it.
exactly. It's true.
Right?
Yeah. They don't see their own greatness, right? And for the longest time, I didn't even see my own greatness because I grew up playing basketball, right? And I was a really good player, but I didn't even believe that I was a great player. So that actually stopped me from going as far as I actually could have gone. I didn't believe I was great, but everybody around me knew I was great. So, I could see how sometimes, whether that was like fear of success, maybe it was I was afraid to be great, and some people are afraid to be great,
Yeah. That's
for whatever reason.
a moment right there with the limiting beliefs. We're right back at it.
Yeah, exactly. So, right. So some people like you said, like they have that upbringing, but they still don't, take that chance on themselves or believe in themselves. And what I would say is like, if you're that person and you're listening to this podcast, don't give up.
Mhm.
Keep trying to find ways to believe in yourself. Whatever it takes for you to believe in yourself, do that. Because I believe me when I say it, when you believe in yourself, you're going to find the right opportunities, the right things are going to come into your life. Your life will change when you believe in yourself. Overnight, no. There's no such thing as overnight success. The people make jokes about it all the time. I became successful overnight. No, some people, they start doing something and it takes them 10, 15, 20 years. The thing is, they never gave up. They never
Yeah.
stopped.
They
But you
just kept
just
working on their craft.
they just kept working on their craft. But you have to find that thing that every morning you wake up and it's on your mind. What is that one thing? Because a lot of people are trying to figure that out and find that. I feel like we live in a culture where a lot of people are bouncing around from one thing to another thing. I mean, they don't stick with one thing,
Yeah.
But what is that one thing that you wake up to in the morning and it just, you think about it. You can't stop thinking about it. You can't stop thinking about how I could get better. And also that one thing where you're willing to get $0 maybe for a couple of years? What is that?
I was waiting for you to say that. You would. Wow.
What? Yeah, like what is that thing? You know what? I'll do this for free until one day this thing pays me, because it will. And when
Yeah,
you have that passion behind it, it's only a matter of time before you start getting paid.
definitely.
Yeah,
Wow. That's enlightening. That's a good explanation. I feel like anybody who was hearing that, if something didn't just click in you, that you know what, you just gotta keep your head down sometimes and keep on going, keep on
exactly.
moving on.
Yeah, it's part of the journey.
Yeah. I have three questions I would like
Okay,
to end today's lovely podcast episode with.
definitely.
Firstly, what is the best advice that you've been given or that you'd also give?
Yeah, okay. So the best advice that I would definitely give is you got to know yourself. Actually, there's a few things. I can't just say one thing. Say okay. I'll spit it out, right. And you know, the first thing I would say, this is just, I would say you got to know yourself. You got to know, what do you like to do? Because if you're doing things for other people, you'll never be happy, number one. So you got to know yourself. Like for me, I know myself. I know what I love to do. I knew that real estate wasn't for me, so I got out of it. If you're just doing that to make somebody else happy, you'll never be happy. So you got to know yourself. Know yourself, number one. Number two, failure is a part of the process. Okay. You're going to fail. If someone looks at you and say you're not going to fail, then they're lying to you. I'm here to tell you on the show that you're going to fail. It's about what you do when you fail. Do you get back up? Do you stay down? Do you learn from that failure? So it's all part of the process. Whatever you're trying to create, whatever you're going after, you're going to fail. There's going to be a learning curve. You're going to.
Better too. Just
sorry,
previous point.
sorry, you cut out. Say that again.
Yeah, just like to your previous point, failing helps you get to know yourself more too.
Exactly. Yeah, you get to know yourself more too, right? That's a great point right there. I love that. And fall in love with the journey and the process. I would say fall in love with the journey and the process. Whatever journey you're on, whatever process you're going through, fall in love with it. All right. The good, the bad, because you can find good in the bad.
Mhm.
There's good in the bad, right? When the bad thing happens, I'm like, oh, I'm glad that happened because that taught me to never do that again, right? You get in a bad relationship, you're like, oh, I'm glad that didn't work, right? I don't have to live with this person for the rest of my life. So like there is always, good in the bad. You can find the good in the bad. All right. And, I would say, follow your passion. All right. Follow what you're passionate about. In the beginning, it may not pay you anything. In the beginning, nothing might be coming in, but follow what your passion is, because you have one life. How are you going to live this life and not do things you're passionate about? You're just going to go to work to earn money and there's no passion in what you're doing. I see so many people that have jobs and they're miserable because they hate what they're doing. And I was just like, why don't you find something that you love to do?
That's it.
Right? You're going to live your life. Life's going to flash by like that because life is so quick.
Yeah.
You turn around, you blink, you're 30. The next you're 35, then you're 40. It's just like times move so quick. And nothing's guaranteed in life, right? Thanks be to God that I'm here today and I'm able to be on this podcast, but I don't know what my time's going to be. So I'm like, let me live life to the fullest. Let me do the things that I want to do. Let me be productive. So those are some, little bit of advice that I'd give to people out there. Obviously, I got so much more advice, but if you want more advice and you want one-on-one coaching with me, DM me Mindset, okay? And we'll work. But piece of advice that I got from someone else. That's something I got to think about that I got from someone else. But I would say, because I'm a content creator, it had to be some content, and I don't want to say specifically from people online. All right, some advice that I heard from content creators online, and that comes to my point. Do not believe everything that you hear from content creators, from YouTubers, because I feel like we live in a society where people just get mesmerized by these individuals, right? So do not believe everything or every piece of advice that you hear online. All right. I don't want to say one person specifically, but I'm saying do not believe everything that you hear or piece of advice that you get from content creators or YouTubers online. And sometimes that person has gone through something, right? Now they're on the microphone saying, oh, whatever they're saying, but that might not apply to you. That might not be the person who you are, but yet you're taking their advice and then you're doing that. Or like, I'm like, there's a lot of relationship dating coaches out there, and they poison the culture with whatever their belief system is, and a lot of young men start regurgitating that, and it's just like, okay, that's not who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And then they ruin maybe a perfect relationship that they're in. So it's just like, do not take advice from everybody. Sometimes certain advice doesn't apply to you. Know yourself. And that goes back to the point of knowing yourself. So that's what I
Yeah.
would say. Yeah,
Know yourself enough to also know who aligns with you and what kind of content you want to be consuming from different, like maybe somebody says really great relationship advice, but not the best finance advice.
exactly.
So pick and choose. It's really
Yeah,
funny you said that because that actually brings me to my next question, which is
right.
what is the worst advice that you've been given?
Yeah. Okay. So the worst advice I was given. Wow. That's a good one. The worst advice that I was given was to,
Pick your
no, definitely had to be, because I love financial literacy, and a lot of people that I bring on the show are like financial literacy guests,
I know
because
this.
yeah, because one of my passions is to really because we haven't really been learned we haven't been taught about financial literacy in school, and that's unfortunate, because you go to school to get a job, and then you earn money, and then a lot of people are lost. They're lost, or they're overspending, or they don't know how to measure money. So the worst piece of advice I would say was someone telling me to, you know, um, take a credit card and use your credit card to, travel. And then when you take a credit to travel, then you pay that off later. That's the worst piece of advice that someone told me, and I was just like, no, I'm not doing it like that, because at the end of the day, I know credit card, the money on that credit card is not my money.
Mhm.
That's borrowed money.
That's the mindset shift that people need to be making with the money in their credit card. It's not your money.
It's not
Just
your
because
money.
you have access to it does not mean it's your money. That's big, yeah.
Yeah. So that was the worst piece of advice that I got. And I didn't take it, because I'm like, I know this is not my money. And
So
I'm
think,
like, yeah, I did not take it. Right. So there's advice that people give you that you have to think, okay, if I take this $2,000 for this trip, but yet I don't have the $2,000,
yeah.
I'm just living paycheck to paycheck now, just trying to, because I have to take money from my paycheck to pay off this trip. It's just like, no, set aside extra money if you want to travel for your trip. If you want to fly somewhere, if you want to see the world, every paycheck, take $200-300 and put it in a separate account, or give it to your spouse, or your parents, or whatever. And then at the end of the year, you'll have $5,000 in that pot that you could just use for traveling. You're not taking and using a credit card. With that being said, I still believe that credit cards are good, because you could utilize them, to build your credit, but make sure that you do have the money. Yeah. But make sure you do have the money, in your account, that you can pay the credit card when you do use your credit card. But yeah, the worst piece of advice was, don't worry, just tap that card and go travel the world.
Wow, I'm happy you didn't take it.
No.
Because I thought you were about to say, "Oh, I learned my lesson." I was like, "No." That's good. That's good. Yeah. Um, lastly, my question is, what is one thing if you could go back in time that you would say to your younger self?
That's a phenomenal question. I love that question. You know what? I'm going to say a few things, if that's okay with you.
Sure, yeah.
All right. Number one, buy Bitcoin and investigate cryptocurrency.
But you would both.
You know what I mean? That's the first thing. Be more open-minded, because I was closed-minded when one of my friends, and I know he's going to watch his show. I'm not going to say his name, but he's going to watch his show. And he told me, he looked at me and he said, Marcel, there's this thing called Bitcoin, and this thing's going to blow. I have a feeling. He's like, buy some. And at the time, it was a couple hundred. I can't remember the exact amount. I'm like, I looked at him like, oh, you believe in digital currency or digital this? I'm like, that's garbage. That nothing's going to happen. I was so close-minded. And I actually had the money to invest at the time. And I did not invest. And you look at it today. And the amount that he was telling me to invest, had I bought the few of them, who knows, right? Could be half a millionaire right now. right? A millionaire based on what he told me to invest at the time, and I didn't listen. So I would have said to myself, buy cryptocurrency, investigate Bitcoin, be open-minded, understand blockchain, understand, Web3, understand these terminology, understand AI, because AI, has been flown around for a while. People think it was just yesterday it came out. AI has been talked about for quite some time. It's just now you're hearing about it. So, now that I know these things, it's just like when I see early projects or things that are starting to develop, I'm like, okay, I'm willing to invest in it because, Bitcoin 10 years ago was the price that it was at. And that shows you too, something could start at a low price and then 10 years later, it could be, exploding. So be open-minded, look at the cryptocurrency, look into Bitcoin. That's what I tell my younger self. And I would tell myself, be patient. You're eventually going to get there, and what I would also say is, I felt like I had a little bit of an ego. You can learn from everyone. And when I mean everyone, literally everyone. Everyone has something they can teach you, whether it's something that you learn from them, you're like, I'm never going to do this. or
Yeah.
you or you learn from that person that you could take that and apply it in your life that is actually can help you. So learn from everyone, And another thing is, like I used to say, I figured it out. But the thing is, you never have it all figured out. There's always something to figure it out. And once you realize that you don't have it all figured out, maybe you have this portion of it figured out, there's always something to figure out. Like there's always going to be something you got to figure out in your life. So that's something else I tell myself. Another thing I tell myself is just like, take the risk, take a chance on yourself, bet on yourself is what I would say. Bet on yourself, bet on yourself. There's nothing wrong with betting on. We're betting on other people. We're betting on basketball players, games, football games, but we're not betting on our own self, right? You gotta take the chance on yourself. You gotta bet on yourself, right? And sometimes some people, like they go into like content or they go into YouTube and they don't become the biggest YouTuber, but guess what? You become a better person.
Yeah.
Right. So it's bigger than just like being the number one YouTuber in the world or being the best podcaster in the world. You actually develop because, you realize, like, and I'm sure you're starting to realize, like, you're talking about personal development and personal growth. What's going to happen to you? You're going to start growing. You're going to have to. If you want your content to grow, you have to grow.
Yeah, I'd rather lose money betting on myself than win money against, like, betting against myself 100%. Like, it's funny, I was also thinking about this today. Do I want to be a great podcaster or do I want to have great podcast content?
Yep.
You can have both. You
Exactly.
you can have both. But I mean, if I had to choose, I would choose having great podcast content
Yeah.
because you learn from it, you deliver it. And yeah, I really like everything that you said, that you boiled down there. That was good. Most of what I got also was be more open-minded.
Be more
If I
minded.
was to
Yeah.
extract, be more open-minded. I think.
Exactly. Yeah. Be more open-minded. And then the opportunities will actually find you. When you're more open-minded, what I found is when you're open-minded, the opportunities find you. Whatever you believe in, God, the universe, it has a weird way of like showing you things. When you're closed off, you miss out on everything. But for some reason, when you're open-minded, you start seeing different opportunities. So I'd really encourage everybody to just be more open-minded, and you'll begin to see things in your life. You'll just be like, whoa, this person came across me. I just met this person. That
Yeah.
wasn't random. That was because, you're open-minded. You're open to bringing that type of energy, into your life, right? And
Definitely.
yeah, and another thing I want to say, like just to add on, is just like your thoughts. It's like your thoughts are so important. And I realized the power of thoughts, like what you're thinking. You always have to check in with yourself and be like, what am I thinking? Am I thinking negative or am I thinking positive? Because you attract that into your life. I'm telling you, like there's certain things that you're attracting in your life. You're like, how did this happen to me? How did that happen to me? Well, what are your thoughts like?
Yeah.
Obviously certain things are out of our control, but believe me, what you're thinking, you will see in your life. You will bring that in your life. So, you have to think positive. You have to, align yourself with positive thoughts. You have to be thinking on that in those types of ways to really bring in certain things into your life, right? So thoughts become things. That's kind of what I wanted to add on as well too.
Yeah, I mean, everything around us, it once started as a thought from
It's a thought
somebody
from
somewhere.
someone. Yep.
This mic here, it was somebody's thought to make it, and you know what? Here it is.
Here it is. Exactly. Yeah. And one more thing, imagination. I want people to tap back in to their imagination, because remember when we were a kid and we were on the playground and we were just like, I can fly, or like, I'm Superman, or like, we said the most craziest things. Kids say the most wildest things. They imagine things that don't exist. And then we get to a certain age, just like, whoop, that's it. It's like we're in a box. And like, we've just cut off all imagination. I'm just like, no, we need to continue to imagine things. And that's how you create. It's like through imagination, right? Like I see things without them even being here. You need to tap back into that. A lot of people have like killed that. Once they turned 18, 19, they started working a job. It's just like their imagination is just like gone. No, you continue to have to imagine, to have vision, to dream, to see dreams. Like dreams are free, right? How much do dreams cost? Nothing. So you got to dream, continue to dream, imagine, have that imagination, tap back into your imagination, because you could create that. Is it going to come tomorrow? No. It might take 5 years, it might take 10 years, but you can create whatever you want in this life. It's your reality.
Wow, I'm on fire listening. I'm very empowered right now. Like I'm ready for the world. That was stellar. Wow. Yeah,
Thank you.
So this content that you make, and like, almost all the time I hear content from you that sounds exactly like this. And has anyone ever told you that, hey, like it changed my life, or it changed the way I saw something? This isn't one of my last questions. I just thought of it because it's impacting me, So
yeah. Well, I'm glad it's impacted you, and for sure, yeah, I got people that tell me, you've changed my life. I've seen people who, were like addicts, like drug addicts, and they're like, hey, like, you completely changed my life. I listen to your content, and like that's what I do it for. I'm like, wow, this is actually impacting other people. But the only way I'm able to do this, is by working on myself, is by improving myself, because I can only help others if I improve myself. There's no way I can help someone if I'm not improving myself, and if I'm not living in that way as well too. So I got to live, by that way too. I got to be disciplined. I got to be focused. I got to, be immersed in personal development, because in that way, once I'm like that, then I'm able to help other people. But if I'm not doing that myself, then I can't help other people.
How can you even trust yourself to give that out if you're not giving it to yourself, right?
Exactly. You're not able to. You won't be able to. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, Marcel, I feel like I could keep going, but I feel like we can't let everybody have it all.
No, you gotta follow both me and Sharmi. You gotta hit the subscribe button. You gotta DM me if you want to work with me. You gotta DM me mindset. Okay, just DM me the word mindset.
Thank you so much for being on my show, Marcel.
Hey,
I love that.
Thank you. You did a phenomenal job. I'm actually gonna have to go back and watch this and see your techniques as well too, because I want to grow and I like your techniques. You listen very well, right? Like I felt like I could talk without being interrupted, and I could get everything out, and I didn't feel like nervous or anxious or anything like that. So I really hope that this for you is a start to something new, and I'm glad to be the first guest on your show.
Oh yeah. No, I've been twiddling my thumbs for a long time, thinking, who do I want to interview for my first time? Who do I want to interview? It doesn't have to be the president of the world or Jay Shetty or Tony Robbins, but I want to do somebody who aligns with me, who I can have a good conversation with, because then I'm setting the tone for myself that I'm able to have a conversation with somebody. And like I keep seeing you, and I'm so glad we did this. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, likewise. Thank you as well.
Awesome. So like he said, subscribe, like, comment, share, and that is how you get more of us, and we can get more of you guys. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you very much. And Sharmi, how can the audience reach you? Like, you got to plug your stuff. I want to.
You can find me on my podcast, Vibe with Sharmi, and that is on all streaming platforms. So Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all of that. And you can also find me on Instagram, which is It's Sharmi Roy. And Marcel will have it linked down.
Yeah, it'll be linked down below. Thank you again, world, for tuning in to another episode of Marcel Mindset TV. Remember, like, subscribe, and comment. Let's get this content worldwide, all right? Peace.